Good morning, everyone, on this beautiful, cool, breezy day in the wheat field, Indiana. No doubt you are wondering who the strange priest is in front of you this morning. Well, my name is Father Terence. I'm a priest of the congregation of St. Basil, better known as the Basilian Fathers. We're not from Brazil. We are not the Brazilian Fathers, but the Basilian Fathers, named after our patron, St. Basil the Great. Although we are originally from France, our general cure is now located in Toronto, Canada. As you can tell from my accent, I'm not from around here. I am indeed a Canadian, and I'm from Montreal, Quebec. I'm based during the summer and spring in Houston, so this is quite a relief, 112 yesterday. And I'm in half a year in Latin America. We continue serving the people of God in France, Canada, the U.S., Mexico, and Colombia. Now, you may not know us here in this part of the Lafayette Diocese, but we used to be in Gary. We ran a school in Maryville, Andrean. I don't know if there's any Andrean grads here. There were a number yesterday at the other place. We are Latin Rite Basilians, and much younger than our Greek Catholic or Byzantine Catholic Basilians. Now, they're as Catholic as we are, a very different liturgy. We celebrate the Roman liturgy, lasts about an hour or so. The St. John Chrysostom liturgy or the St. Basil liturgy goes on for 2.5 hours. So be thankful you're Roman Catholics and not Byzantine Catholics. Now, those guys date back to the 4th century, and most of them are in Ukraine, so we want to keep them in our prayers. I'd like to begin by thanking Bishop Timothy, your pastor, Father Michael, and you, the parishioners of Sorrowful Mother, for your hospitality here this weekend and this opportunity to be with you. I'm here to celebrate Mass with you, to say a few words about today's readings, and to ask for your support for our missions in Latin America. Although the second reading today from Paul's letter to the Corinthians speaks directly, explicitly about assisting those in need, I don't want to dwell on that reading. Instead, I want to talk about the gospel and God's power to heal and make whole. We see this power displayed by those around us every day. For example, those involved in the healthcare professions. They show us that power every day. Also, anyone displaying generosity and assisting others in any situation of need is another sign of God's healing power. Such people mediate God's power in the world around us every day. I want to share with you now a story of how I experienced God's intervention of healing under very chaotic and violent circumstances through mediation of some children in Latin America. I served in Medellin, Colombia in the late 1990s. Most of you my age and older, I'm 68, will remember that Colombia was in the news a lot in those days, especially Medellin, followed by the name of Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel. Indeed, the first day I arrived in our parish in Echeomo in Blanquisal, one of the comunes of Medellin, I was asked by the pastor, there actually a guy from Detroit, Father Bob Sagan, who says, "Terry, you want to walk to Porvenir and do a novena service for this young teenager who had just been murdered, a 14-year-old by the name of Alex Munoz." And I didn't know what Porvenir was, so I had a guide, a 15-year-old girl named Christina, and we're on the switchback trail going up towards Porvenir, and here's popping sound. That sounds like gunfire, and she grabs my arm and tears me off the trail. And sure enough, a gunfight, 50 yards in front of us. So that was my first experience in this barrier. Now, I'm an academic, and I was used to teaching university. However, a teacher at our parish school, an elementary school, had resigned suddenly because of a death threat. So they asked me to step in to fill his shoes for a semester. Now, I not only learned important gospel lessons from the children during that time, I also learned that teaching elementary school is a lot tougher than teaching university. Any elementary school teachers here today? Well, congratulations. I mean, you got a very tough and important job, and I really admire your work. So they asked me to teach a nivellation class. Well, what's a nivellation class? The purpose of that class, I had a group of 8 to 14-year-olds. The purpose of that class was to determine what grade they actually belong to. Well, they have things like school records. Well, yeah, they do. But all these kids were internal refugees from Colombia. They escaped another violent area, often missing one or more parents, often missing one or more siblings, and they escaped with the clothes on their back in the dark of night. So they didn't have the opportunity to go get their report cards from the school. So we ran that school in 2 shifts. We didn't have enough room for all the kids. I taught the afternoon shift, and the first day of school, I logically had lunch at home before I went up to the school. So I got up to school, met the kids, had a couple of lessons, then they had a break. And they went into the patio, the yard, the schoolyard, and they broke open their little backpacks, some tortillas. They took out little plastic containers, second-hand containers from yogurt or what have you, and they sat down having a lunch. And I was curious about what they were eating. So I'm looking around and had a couple of pieces of yuca, a couple of potatoes, some rice, and if they were lucky, some gravy. So all carbs. Bit of fat, no protein. Now, I'm looking at them, they're looking at me. I'm not eating. Well, why should I? Not for me. I already ate. They insisted on sharing the little they had with me. They could not stand somebody among them who didn't have something to eat. And no matter how much they insisted, ya comí, I've already eaten, No, they insisted on sharing their food. So, the generosity of those children and their concern about others before themselves was a sharp contrast to the violence and chaos we experience in that barrier almost every day. In short, these children's behavior reflected Jesus' healing power amidst chaos and violence. God inspired the children to share their very meager food with someone they thought had none. They revealed God's mercy and generosity amid very difficult circumstances. Now that memory continues to inspire me today, and I hope it inspires you as well. Despite their circumstances and their misfortune, their hearts and minds conform to the gospel in very, very profound ways. I could stand here all day telling stories about our experiences in Latin America, but I'm sure you don't like sitting through long homilies any more than I do, so we'll make it short. That gives you a taste of what we experience in Mexico and Colombia. Now, I must say that Colombia, the situation has improved significantly since those days in the 90s. Now, it took over 50 years, but most of our vocations for the Brazilian order now come from Latin America. We're withdrawing from schools like Andrea because we can't staff them because of our shortage of North Americans. But our ministries are expanding in Mexico and Colombia because of the amount of vocations. Indeed, the current pastor of that parish I just mentioned in Medellin, a fellow by the name of Father Oscar Gomez Soto, he was a teenager in the youth group when I served there back in the 1990s, one of our success stories. I humbly ask you then to collaborate with us so we continue our work in Latin America. The generosity of parish communities like yours here in the States and in Canada help us to continue our work of evangelization. But much more important than your material support is your spiritual support, your prayers. We often forget just how powerful and effective our prayers can be. So I ask for your prayers, your continued prayers for our ministry in Latin America. So after communion, after closing prayer, and during the announcements, there will be a second collection, and this collection is for the missions. If you write a check, the check will be made payable to the Soul Mother, your parish. These funds don't come to me; they go through the parish now to the mission office in the diocese. and then distributed from there. So again, if you write a check, you write to source from other, and on the memo line, you'll indicate mission appeal. So I always say that I always love coming to this diocese, Lafayette in Indiana. My third time in this diocese. First time farthest north I've been. I'm usually much further south. And I always experience this wonderful, great hospitality from the people here. I thank you for the hospitality, and please continue the good work, and may God bless you.